What's up, guys? Paulie for Paulie TV. Just back from working the Pro Box fights. I watched some of the big Riyadh season card today in New York. We had monitor ringside. I was going to give my thoughts on some of these fights. Obviously we had a good card at Pro Box, guys. If anybody didn't get to watch it, you can watch back the replay on Pro Box TV. Good main event with Vladimir Hernandez and Francisco Verón. Also, some two pretty good fighters, Asian fighters on the undercard. Akitsugi, the bantamweight, who's been really impressive on our network. He got another good win tonight, and also Serdembat. I can't say his last name. He's a Mongolian fighter, really good 130-pounder. I think he's excellent, but doesn't get a lot of play. But we've had Akitsugi and Serdembat on Pro Box several times. They've impressed every single time, so I'd love to see these guys also get a step-up chance. Akitsugi's actually been sparring with Nakatani, so obviously it shows you the level he's on as well. Both are undefeated, so on and so forth. But let me get into the zone card. I saw the main event in full because the main event came on after we got off the air on Pro Box, so we got to see that. That was, I guess, a bit of a surprise. I was leaning towards Shiraz beating Berlanga. I think both guys had a lot to prove. As I've said, both guys have sort of picked up momentum in their careers, but neither has won a world championship. And both, I think had a lot to prove because Shiraz had been extra impressive on his run-up. I think he'd been more impressive than Berlanga in that way. He'd fought better competition than Berlanga in that way, Canelo notwithstanding. But the Adames performance really left a sour taste in everybody's mouth. And looking back, everybody was saying, okay, in hindsight, listen, it was a struggle to make weight. But Adames is also a very difficult world champion to deal with. He's not an easy guy to deal with. Having said that, Shiraz also didn't look like himself. He didn't really push it. So, you start to think that maybe it was the weight. He moved up to 168 pounds. He's huge. He's big. I mean, he looked big tonight against Berlanga, who's a big 168. So, it goes to show you, I don't even know how the kid was making the middleweight division, but it's incredible that he was. And he'd had some good performances there, but it was his time to move up. Berlanga, obviously, in following his career, we've seen him shoot. He was like a shooting star early on, getting all those first-round knockouts. But when he started to go rounds, you started to see a lot of cracks in the armor. And started to show a lot of deficiencies once he stepped up in class and competition. The Canelo fight got him some credibility because he went the distance with Canelo. But I never felt like he tried, and I had said that time and again. I never felt like he tried. I felt like there was too much satisfaction over going the distance with Canelo or never trying to win with Canelo. I personally think the way he got blown out tonight makes Canelo look even worse. I think, these are the kind of guys Canelo was fighting and going the distance with. And this guy Shiraz just cut through him like a hot knife through butter. And it was in a fight where now there was no moral victories. Both guys had to win the fight. You couldn't afford to lose tonight facing one another and say, oh, you know what, it's okay, it's a moral victory, like Berlanga did with Canelo. Even like Shiraz to a degree got with Adames, where it was a world championship fight, and okay, he got the draw, but it was really, it's criticism, but okay, it's a world championship fight, you forgive him. You couldn't afford that tonight, because neither guy had become world champion. There's a lot of expectation on the shoulders of both guys, and now it's put up or shut up time and prove that you are of this level type of time, And I mean, it wasn't even close. I gotta say, it wasn't even close. And I'm not gonna write off Berlanga completely. Listen, he's a kid who's got to get his focus going and be hungry. I think you have to be more hungry to be a world champion than you do to be a star. And if you can be more hungry to be a world champion, I think stardom does show up and that does come at those times. If your main goal is to be a star, I think you hurt your chances of becoming a world champion because you're just not going to be as hungry. The hunger of wanting to be a world champion is something different, and I think that was the difference with tonight's fight. Shiraz has the hunger to want to be great, to want to be a world champion. Berlanga is sort of caught up in this image of his, where I think he was feeling like he was better than he was, as far as boxing is concerned. And so I think he needed to get back to the drawing board, and he needs to go back to the drawing board and just work on things in the gym the way they need to be worked on. But I think it's a mentality more than anything else. I don't think it's a trainer thing or anything else. I think he's got the right guys with him. I just don't think that his mentality, because if you come in there feeling you're special when you're not special yet, it's hard to feel that hunger to want to get to the point of being special. I think first and foremost, you're only special once you become world champion. All the expectation heaped upon you before that doesn't mean anything if you don't become world champion. Doesn't matter how much money you make. Because obviously Berlanga got a nice payday from the Canelo, from Canelo picking him as an opponent. But ultimately, it really means nothing in the long term if you don't at least have some accomplishments in the ring. And I think that Berlanga has to get back on that mindset after this loss. Because he looked like he didn't even belong at this level at all. And like I said, after fighting Canelo, who's probably a faded Canelo, who's a Canelo that is nowhere near where he once was at one time. And I'm one of the guys that doesn't think Canelo was as good as everybody made him out to be, even at his best. I don't think he was ever a pound for pound top guy, even though they made him a pound for pound top guy at times. I think Canelo was good. I think he's obviously a worthy world champion. But I do think he's overrated in that, people make like he's one of the best fighters ever. I never looked at Canelo in that way. But definitely an excellent world-class fighter with world championship credentials, Having said that, he was faded by the time Berlanga fought him. So it was a chance to take him out. It was a chance to eliminate him. But there was also a reason why Canelo was fighting these kind of opponents, so that he could kind of hang around, so he could take all you guys' money when he fights Crawford and gets beat in September. Because the only way he beats Crawford is if the size is too different. He's absolutely nowhere near skill level of Crawford, even at his best days, let alone now, where I think he's faded. But I think this performance by Shiraz, really puts Shiraz on the map and it makes a statement. Because again, Berlanga was enjoying some hype off of that Canelo performance, just going the distance, and pushing Canelo to go the distance. Regardless, I thought it was a bit too much. I thought, being that Berlanga didn't try to win that fight, I thought he didn't deserve as much credit as he was getting. But still, going 12 rounds with a very famous fighter, with the fighter of the generation, so to speak, will get you some credibility, But you got to build off that. You got to be hungry. You got to stay motivated. You still got to put in the back of your mind that you've never been a world champion. Shiraz did that. Shiraz came up short against Adames with the draw, and he didn't like the criticism. Clearly he stayed hungry. Clearly he stayed poised. He stayed mature, and he deserves all the credit in the world for this win. Not just with the win, but the way he got it. He showed that he was hungry. He was determined to make a statement, and boy did he ever. He cut through Berlanga like a hot knife through butter. Like they didn't even belong in the same ring with each other tonight. And so I think from here, I think Canelo winning or losing in September, I think Shiraz can probably fight him, next, because it's still a name opponent regardless. I think Canelo's got to stop wasting everybody else's time anyway. After the Crawford fight, he may beat Crawford. Listen, I'm not saying guaranteed that he loses to Crawford. I think Crawford beats him. But listen, Crawford's a lot smaller. That the size may play a bigger factor, and Canelo might win the fight. But I think Shiraz against Canelo is the next worthy step. I know Canelo probably would need to be paid a lot of money for that fight, but I think Shiraz is ready to make that move. He's ready. I think he was kind of already being hyped up very well out of England. I had been impressed with him. Prior to Adames, I was really impressed with Shiraz. The Adames fight was really disappointing for me. But seeing the win he got tonight and the way he got it, I think this kid's got a lot of potential. He carries himself well. He can fight. He can punch. He can really be a big force at 168. And then 168 is growing back into its own rhythm now. You got guys like Pacheco. You got other fighters there at 168, and Bealey's still around. You got fighters that are going to make it really fun. As a matter of fact, you got Lester Martinez as well. Matter of fact, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe if Shiraz can't get Canelo next, maybe it's Mbili or Lester Martinez. I mean, those will be tremendous fights. I would want to watch Shiraz against anybody. For tonight, like I said, I had already been kind of convinced of him prior to the Adames fight. I kind of took a step back after the Adames fight, but with tonight's performance, I really rate this guy, because now you got to combine it with some of the other good performances he's had, and you got to really keep in mind that it probably was the weight that had a lot to do with the way he fought Adames. Listen, Adames would have been a tough fight anyway, but the way he fought Adames probably had a lot to do with the struggles of the weight. Nonetheless, like I said, I rate him a lot, and I want to see him again. And I also would like to see Berlanga take a step or two back, but this time come back without the chip on his shoulder. Come back with the hunger and determination of a guy who's never been a world champion and wants to be a world champion. Have that determination and hunger, and let's see if he can pull it off. Both guys leave me some curiosities and some question marks about them as I go forward. But certainly a statement made by Hamza Shiraz. In the co-main event, Shakur Stevenson. Everybody makes like he's a runner. Obviously, did he run against Zepeda tonight? No. He's a technical boxer. Did some catching and shooting. Zepeda tried. Zepeda gave it an effort. Shakur didn't run all over the ring. I didn't get to watch the fight attentively because I was also working while trying to watch it. But I thought Shakur fought a smart, intelligent fight. Listen, Shakur's not a barn burner where he's gonna be must see TV as far in terms of action and attention. But he's a guy who's going to beat your favorite fighter in all those lightweight classes. He'll beat your favorite fighter. Whoever your favorite fighter is in and around those weight classes, I promise you, if they get in the ring with Shakur Stevenson will beat them. He beat Zepeda tonight. Let's see if Riyadh Season starts working with him. Let's see, Turki Alashi, let's see who he wants to see him against, because I'd like to see Shakur get in with all the big names. I think, he deserves it, and I think he'll, from my opinion, regardless of how the excitement factor, whether it's lacking or not in the excitement factor, I think he's the best one of those lightweight classes. So I would definitely love to see him. Subriel Matias becomes world champion again, beating Puello for the WBC 140-pound title. That's interesting, because Puello's been getting those close decisions. So you won, now all of a sudden he didn't get this one. A close fight. Looked to me, again, one of those fights where I couldn't watch fully because I was working the card, but looked to me like a bit of a hustle fight, back and forth. I'll have to go back and watch that one again. Let me know what you guys think, what you guys thought of that decision, if Matias deserved it or if Puello won it in your opinion. Katiev, I saw drop Morel, but I saw Morel putting numbers and punches and numbers against him in combination and whatnot. Listen, I felt like Katiev was going to be a tougher fight than people thought, but I did think Morel was probably edging it in experience, and he probably was going to be able to pull it out against Katiev, who didn't have the big experience in the pros, but had a ton of experience in the amateurs. Morel gets the win, remains a big factor. He's another big factor who may be able to go back to 168. I think he's one of the guys like Benavidez who went to 175 strictly because, Canelo just was refusing to fight the top dogs in the weight class. But even if he stays at 175 is hanging around there for is a pretty solid weight class with some decent fighters. Maybe him and Callum Smith could be a good fight. Who knows? There's some options there as well. And you know what? I'd watch Katiev again. Why don't you put Katiev with like a Josh Buatsi, who just lost to Callum Smith, for example? That would be something to watch as well. Also, there's this Polish guy. I forget his name. He just knocked out Jean Pascal in Canada. He's been making some noise too. He's got a couple losses, but again, he's a guy who could sort of fit into the light heavyweight picture in a fun way and see what goes on there. So the light heavyweight division and super middleweight divisions have some fun potential there with some good fights that could be made. And obviously with Riyadh Season making all these big fights, maybe it's a possibility that some of these fighters can combine and make some good fights. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought. Let me know what you guys thought of the card. Let me know what you thought of Shakur Stevenson against Zepeda, and the way Shakur fought that fight. And let me know what you think of the future for Hamza Shiraz and Edgar Berlanga going forward for both of these guys, and what they should do and who you want to see Shiraz fight next. I think Shiraz has made himself must-see TV, and I think he's got a bright future. But I also, like I said, I'm also curious about some of the guys on the undercard as well, and what you guys thought of their performances and what them going forward. I'm Paulie Malignaggi, guys. This is Paulie TV.